Hey, I'm Heyzeus, and this is not a video I thought I'd be making tonight. I wanted my next video to be on CSGO, but this has come out of the blue, and it definitely needs to be talked about. So, from out of nowhere, PUBG's developer has recently announced that they're turning off personal item trades, so peer-to-peer item trading, temporarily. Now, this has a lot of implications. We'll just start by reading the announcement itself, because the announcement itself is stupid. It makes no sense. If we start reading it, so, quote, "Starting today, we're going to temporarily turn off access to personal trades for all PUBG items." Some context. Normally, players can trade items using either the market trade or personal trade features. The market trade lets you sell items through the Steam market system. Personal trade is supposed to allow friends to trade items without any cost attached. Recently though, we've seen a few cases of players using the personal trade function to sell items using third-party sites. This is essentially an abuse of the system. To prevent this, we're temporarily turning off personal trades while we search for a better solution. Once we figure out a way to prevent abuse, the restriction will be lifted. Thanks for reading, and we hope you understand. PUBG Corp. Now, this statement immediately makes me think the developer can't be trusted, although just because they can't be trusted doesn't mean we need some wacky conspiratorial interpretation of this. But anyway, as I say, recently we've seen a few cases of people using the personal trade function to sell items using third-party sites. Recently they've seen a few cases. Like, are you kidding me? This has been a massive industry, gambling sites, trading sites, cash out sites like OP Skins, from the word go with skins in this game. The developer wants to make it sound like they've only just had it brought to their attention. As if. That's just such obvious patent garbage. And the fact that they're using this weaselly language makes me think you really can't trust a word coming out of their mouth. Nonetheless, that doesn't mean that, the crazy, wide-reaching conspiracy explanation is the most likely. Often the simplest one is the best, and I think the upfront explanation I can see from this is quite a reasonable one. It would fit this quite well. So I'll go through that, and then I'll talk about some more conspiracy explanation. So, reading this up front, as you can see, what they're worried about is the use of the personal trade function to sell items. There's no reference here to gambling. When Valve brought in their 7-day trade hold, they explicitly talked about fraud, which I suspect was probably a byword for gambling. In this case, they're just worried about items being sold. So, reading this just as it is, it makes me think that they want to shut down these third-party sites or stop them trading PUBG items so they can, totally corner the market and get all the sales commissions. Reading it at face value, it looks like a cash grab. The people behind PUBG aren't happy with OP Skins taking some of the market volume, and OP Skins getting a sales commission off that rather than the developer, because the developer gets sales commissions off the Steam market. So the motivation here looks to be economical. They want to take back full control of the market and increase the amount of money they make off skins. Now, before we go on to the more conspiratorial interpretations, we'll just talk about, let's just assume this is all there is to it. We can talk about what the implications are. First of all, maybe it will increase the amount of money PUBG's developer gets. It's hard to know for sure. A big part of the volume on OP Skins is to do with gambling. So, that volume is just going to go away if you turn off personal trades. It's not going to move platform, it's just going to disappear. And when you combine it with the large impact this is going to have on the PUBG economy, it's not necessarily granted that the developer is going to be getting more money in sales commissions because of this update. Now, whether that actually works out like that or not remains to be seen. It'll be interesting to find out. Secondly, they say they're looking for a solution. I don't know if there's going to be one. I think if you have that trade system in place, there's going to be third-party sites doing things. To stop them, you need to do something so dramatic that it would essentially amount to completely dismantling the trading system. So, this seems like a dead-end cash grab, personally. Just reading it up front, and I think it's going to get the developer fucking nowhere. Assuming they're being honest here, that's really all there is to say about it. It's a greedy cash grab by a selfish developer who doesn't realise they're shooting themselves in the foot. It's certainly also the worst interpretation I can think of for the developer here. All the conspiratorial interpretations I'm about to go through, all of them make Bluehole look better. So in terms of the conspiracy explanation, well, we know that Valve has been tampering with player-to-player trading in Counter-Strike recently, trying to stamp out most likely gambling. The statement Valve put out strongly indicates they're targeting gambling, and it's noteworthy in the Valve statement, the way they word it clearly excludes sites like OP Skins and trading sites. There's no indication Valve has any intention of shutting those down, which is obviously very, very different to the effect that this update is going to have on similar sites. Now, a very obvious implication of this update is that it essentially kills gambling outright. All the gambling sites have migrated to PUBG. This has shut them down in an instant. So the question that you have to ask is there a connection here? And does Valve have a hand in this? Because it's very easy to interpret what's happening here as just the next logical step in trying to stamp out gambling. They've been driven out of CSGO by the trade hold, and now they've fled into PUBG, and at this point they're being stamped out altogether. First of all, it's possible that since this isn't Valve's game, they're not quite as concerned about disrupting the economy, and they've said to Bluehole, guess what, trading's going to be disabled while we stamp out these gambling sites. Bit of a dick move on Valve's part, and I've got no evidence of that, by the way, just me speculating. It's also possible Valve could be using this as a dry run to see what happens if you get rid of trading altogether. Once again, also a massive dick move on Valve's part, and once again, complete speculation. It could also be that Bluehole didn't want a 7-day trade hold, and this is their compromise with Valve. They temporarily disable trading while the bots are stamped out, and once the bots have been dealt a heavy blow and the gambling sites have all shut down, trading can be re-enabled. Granted, I am sort of assuming that Valve has to be involved if this has got anything to do with gambling, and that doesn't necessarily follow. In all fairness, Valve has been spectacularly indifferent to gambling. It's taken so much pressure and so much negative media coverage to get them to act. Perhaps Bluehole is a little bit more anemic to bad press and want to get on top of the issue earlier. That could also be an explanation. At this point, one of the things I'd recommend people look out for is a ban wave against PUBG gambling bots. I consider that a giveaway that this is about gambling, not buying and selling on third-party sites. Obviously, you'd have to test that using non-PUBG items, but anyway. Also, if Valve is involved, this would represent an enormous shift on their policy towards trading and the Steam market. In the past, with CSGO, when all this, dodgy, dirty stuff concerning gambling, negative media coverage, criminal fraud, stuff like that, when all that's been going on, Valve has been incredibly protective of the economy around CSGO, and I honestly think they've treated the issue with kid gloves, considering how serious some of the things that have been going on have been. Aside from this recent trade hold, it's really been a tap on the wrist from my perspective. They got a letter from the Washington State Gambling Commission telling them to shut down their API. Valve's response was to give them the middle finger. They said, we're not doing anything wrong, and don't you dare threaten us again. And in that sense, although it might not always seem like it, to some extent, Valve does have our backs with preserving, the CSGO economy and the third-party aspect of that economy. If they wanted to shut it down, they would have done it a long time ago. And if this represents a new policy shift by Valve, there's cause to be very, very worried. Whether that's the case or not, it remains to be seen. As for what this is going to do for economies, this is going to absolutely devastate the PUBG economy. I don't think we've ever seen such a disruptive event happen to such a large economy in such a short period of time. It'll be interesting to see just how bad the fallout is. In the meantime, I think a lot of people will move back into CSGO and possibly Dota, just so they can cash stuff out. So I think that's going to mean an increase in prices on the Steam community market. And in a week or so's time, once trade holds start running out, there's going to be a decrease on OP skins as people try to sell off CSGO items just so they can get some cash in hand. On top of this, the trade hold hit CSGO's player base fairly hard. I think the same thing will probably happen to PUBG's player base. And anybody in customer relations at PUBG Corp and Bluehole are about to have a couple of really exciting weeks. As for the longer term, as in, where we'll be in a couple of months' time, it's not really possible to say. I think this is not the end of the story. I think there'll be more updates, and we will have to see what comes, because at the end of the day, these sorts of economies are at the absolute mercy of the developer, and this is a bit of a reminder of that. Anyway, I hope everyone's doing okay, because I know probably a lot of people have just lost quite a lot of money. That's pretty much it for this video. Trust the numbers, not your gut. I'm Heyzeus. Thanks for watching. See ya.